In this video, I'm going to show you some examples of how we can write concepts like try, want, and help, and how the analyzer reacts depending on how we write it. So first of all, let's look at try. So I go to events, then over here I can go to this pull down menu with the letter and I can press T and that'll take me to the items with T. So I have to go down a bit more and then I get to try. So you can see there's only one sense of try, to try to do something, like the king tried to change the law. So it's clear here that the person is trying, that same person, to do something. This isn't about trying to get somebody else to do something, or I guess it could be that. That'd be more complicated. But in other words, the agent in the main clause is going to be the same as the agent in the subordinate clause. And you can see that in the example here. If you look in the white box in the example, Candy's story, you see the first noun phrase is mother, and then, no, you can't see that. You can see it. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. Okay, so if you look at the argument structure here for try, okay, you can see the first noun phrase is most agent-like, king, then there's the verb try, and then there's the patient proposition, and again, it has a noun phrase king, then change, and then the noun phrase law. So it has the same noun phrase, king, in the main clause and in the subordinate clause. So let's go to the proposition analyzer. I went to utilities, proposition analysis. That's how I got here. Now I'm going to click edit text. Now I'm going to write the sentence in two different ways and see what happens. The man left bracket, man tried, left bracket, man to eat food, right bracket, period. The man tried, left bracket, to eat food, right bracket, period. Okay, so you can see here that in the first sentence, I knew that I had to have man as the agent in the subordinate clause. So in this case, I wrote that in. And in the second case, I omitted that, like we would say it in English. So I'm going to click OK, and now I'm going to click on the Analyze button and see what happens. Okay, it worked. So you can see in the first sentence where I put man in the subordinate clause, it says man try, man, oops, it has a second instance of man. We only wanted one. So let's see what it did in the second sentence. Man tried, man to eat food. So it's clear that the analyzer is, if we use try, is inserting the agent of the main clause into the subordinate clause. So you don't need to write it the first way. The easiest way to do this would be to write it the second way, with just left bracket to eat food. Now let's see what happens if I click generate. So it's working. Now it's interesting that in the first sentence, it didn't put the man tried man to eat food, which I would have thought it did. So somehow it came out right in English, but I'm not sure you can count on that in another language. So what I would suggest doing is if you typed it the first way and you get it here, well, you can go back and type it the second way and then rerun the analyzer. Or what you can do here is you can delete the extra noun phrase. So if I go down and in these buttons down on the bottom right, I see there's one that says delete words. So I'm going to click on that. Now, if I just start clicking, it'll delete one word at a time. So I know a trick here. If I push down the control key and I click on the first one, then that became blue. And then if I click on the last one, didn't work for some reason. Let me try it again. Okay, I've pushed on control, click, click. Okay, now it selected that whole noun phrase when I did control click and then a control click on the last thing. I say okay, so I could save the analysis. Okay, so let's try another thing. Let's try want. Okay, let's go to events. Now I click on this drop-down menu with the letter and then I push W. Now here it's a little bit more complicated. You can see there are 4 different senses of want. The first one is to desire that someone else do something. The second is to desire to do something yourself. The third is to want something to possess it. And the fourth one is similar. It's to want something, but this is something abstract, like you want peace or joy or something like that. Okay, so let's see how we should enter this. So let's go back to the proposition analysis. I'm going to click on Edit Text. Now I'm going to go back to voice recognition, select all, press delete. The man wanted, left bracket, man to eat food, right bracket, period. The man wanted, left bracket, to eat food, right bracket, period. Oh, I'm going to change that. John wanted, left bracket, to eat food, right bracket, period. John wanted, left bracket, John to eat food, right bracket, period. John wanted, left bracket, Mary to eat food, right bracket, period. Paul wanted bread, period. Okay, let's see. The first 2 examples, I'm using different nouns just so I don't get pronouns. Okay, so let's try this. Now the first two sentences, the intention here is to use the second sense of want, which is want to do something yourself. So let's see if it came out right. Yes, okay, you can see that since I had, in the first case, I had the man and man, the man wanted man to eat food, it inserted the same noun index for man. So when you look at it, when you hold the mouse over man, you can see the third row says noun index equals 1. So it's the same man. The want, it says, if you put it over the second row there, it says lexical sense be, and if you put over the first row, it tells you the definition, desire to do something yourself. So that's the one that we wanted. The man wanted man to eat food. So that came out right. Let's see what happened in the second case. John wanted, okay, again it's lexical sense be. Look, the program inserted John. So for some reason, for try, it turned out that the best way to enter it was without the noun in the subordinate clause. But for want, it looks like I can write it either way, and it will come out correct. So here it comes out John wanted sense be to do something himself. John, we got that as the agent in the subordinate clause, eat food. Now let's see what happens for the third sentence. Now in the third sentence I had Saul wanted David to eat food. So I wrote it with a different noun in the subordinate clause. So let's see what it did. Now if I put the mouse over want, you can see the definition is to desire that someone else do something. And the lexical sense is A. So that's what I wanted, okay? I wanted that want. And it put in David as the agent of to eat food. Okay, so that's correct. Okay, and John wanted Mary to eat food. I don't know why I did that. That's the same example. So we have a different noun in the subordinate clause. So it put in Mary, and want is sense A, which is to want someone else to do something. And then for the third sentence, John wanted bread. You can see that it wants something to possess it, and bread. So it made a noun phrase bread. So it looks like the analyzer did everything correctly. Now, I don't want to give you the impression that the analyzer will always do everything correctly. It doesn't, and you're going to have to correct things when it doesn't. But it's nice to see that sometimes it can work. So I'm going to see what happens when I click on generate. I did that, and we're waiting to see what pops up. The man wanted to eat food. John wanted to eat food. Saul wanted David to eat food. John wanted Mary to eat food. Paul wanted bread. So it all came out correctly in this case. Okay, let's try another one. We're going to try help. Okay, so again, I go to ontology, source events, and target verbs. Now I'm going to click on the drop-down menu, and I press H for help. And I see the two senses of help down in the bottom left. Okay, the first one is just not to say how one person helps, but just to say that someone helps someone. So the gloss says, to assist, I could see that if I put it over the senses column. To assist someone generically. Mary helped John through many difficult circumstances. Okay. So it has it'd be interesting to see how that through many difficult circumstances is entered. I'm not sure. But anyway, the arguments that you see if you put it over the theta grid column is mandatory, agent, and patient. You see the boxes up at the top, agent, patient-like, noun phrase. Then the parentheses around beneficiary means that that's optional. So in the examples in the white box, you see the officials helped Belshazzar is the first case with no beneficiary. And then the second example is Epaphroditus helped Paul for the people. So the people would be the beneficiary. So we have these two, you can have that one with beneficiary out. And now let's look at the second sense. That's the one I'm most interested here. Okay, it says there's a mandatory agent, a mandatory patient-like noun phrase, and a mandatory patient proposition. You know it's mandatory because it's not in parentheses. And then if you look at the example, you'll see it has Gabriel, noun phrase, the verb help, and then it has the noun phrase Daniel. And then in the proposition, in the left brackets, it has patient proposition with the noun phrase Daniel, understand, and then unfortunately there isn't enough room on my screen to show what's remaining. And I don't know if there's a way to do that. If Todd views this video, maybe he can comment on it. Okay, so here you might wonder if you should write Gabriel helped Daniel, left bracket, to understand the vision, or Daniel helped, left bracket, Daniel to understand the vision. Well, apparently you have to have a noun phrase. Gabriel helped Daniel, and then the subordinate clause. Okay, so let's go to the proposition analyzer. Utilities, proposition analysis, edit text, select all, press delete. Paul helped Daniel, left bracket, to eat food, right bracket, period. Paul helped Daniel. Oh, let's change that. I don't want to have the same, I don't want it to use pronouns. Saul helped Mary, left bracket, Mary to eat food, right bracket, period. David helped Ananias to eat food, right bracket, period. God helped Jesus, period. You might wonder why I'm pausing so much. I'm trying to think of names. I should write down a list of names so I won't have to think about this so much. Okay, let's see. Who else can I talk about? There's Moses, Aaron. Okay, let me use them. God helped Moses for Aaron, period. Okay, now let's click Analyzer. So it will get rid of all this previous analysis when I click Analyze again. Uh-oh, it doesn't like Ananias. Okay, I don't want to add Ananias, so I just said no. That's because we haven't fully done Acts yet. So, okay, so we're going to have to change Ananias. Elizabeth. Okay, I'm going to do it over again. I'm going to push the Analyzer button. Oh no, it doesn't know Elizabeth. How could that be? Okay, we're going to have to look into this. Maybe I spelled it a different way than it's used to. Okay, let's go to ontology. Ontology and lexicon, ontology nouns. I click in the pull down menu, select E. Maybe I'll learn some new names here that I can use. Eli. Help me to remember that. Oh, Elisha. Okay, it's got Elizabeth with a Z. I thought that might be the case, but that's kind of strange because I thought that it should be with an S in the Bible. May want to change that later, but I'll put it with a Z. And let's say in the last example, so we have all different nouns, Elijah. Okay, let's try it again. I'm going to click on Analyze. Now, you'll notice that I'm just experimenting here. So I knew that there must be a noun phrase, Paul helped somebody. So the first one had it, but I didn't put Daniel, Paul helped Daniel. I didn't put Daniel in the noun phrase, in the subordinate clause. And look, it messed up because there needs to be Daniel in the subordinate clause. So in this case, this didn't work to leave Daniel out. So let's see what happens in the second case. Saul helped Mary to eat food. So Saul helped Mary. Uh-oh, it has two Marys. So this time it got Mary correctly in the subordinate clause. But it added two Marys for the noun phrase. So that's not good. We've got patient noun phrase, Mary, Mary to eat fruit. So let's see what happens in the third case. David helped. This time I didn't put the noun phrase before the subordinate clause. David helped Elizabeth to eat food. So now in the third sentence it put David helped Elizabeth to eat food. So it appears that the best way to write this would be the third way. That you wouldn't write, even though the TBTA is going to want the noun phrase as a separate argument before the subordinate clause. It looks like the best way to write the sentence is without that noun phrase, and then TBTA, when it does the analysis, will add it. Okay, so right now, I don't know, other than by trial and error, which way is going to work now best. Now, you can fix this up. So I showed you how to delete things. So, and also you can copy. But first, before I do that, let's just see what happens if I do generator. But before I get to that, I had the two other examples. God helped Jesus, so God is the agent. Help, now that's since A, it's just the generic help without a clause. John helped Jesus. And then the last example is Elijah helped Moses for Aaron. So you can see the analyzer got these right. Elijah's agent, helped is since A, the generic help. Moses is the patient, and then Aaron is beneficiary. If you put the mouse over the NP, you'll see the second row, the second feature says semantic role equals beneficiary. So before I fix this up, let's see what happens if I click generate. Oh, it's not going to like that. Okay, it says this verse changes the case frame for help. Do you want to update the case frame now? No, because I don't want to add a new argument structure. So it's not going to let me do that. We're going to have to fix it up. We saw when we looked at the verb help that there should be a noun phrase argument, and then the noun phrase should also be in the subordinate clause. So let's fix it up to be that way for all three cases. Okay, Paul helped Daniel. In this first case, we're missing Daniel in the subordinate clause. So I want to copy this noun phrase Daniel. Now the way I can do that is I click on, down here in the bottom right, there's a little white box that has like a page and then another page. So I click on that for copy. Now if I mouse click on one item, I'll just be copying that one item. So the trick here is to hold down the control key, and then I click on the start of the noun phrase and then the end of the noun phrase. Now it's highlighted in blue. That means that you can paste it somewhere. And before I clicked on the little white box that had the two pages, now you'll see that pressed down is the white box to the right of that, which shows something black with a little white thing in front of it. That's the symbol for paste. So now I can paste in that noun phrase. And the way it works is you click on the item and it'll paste it in front of that. So I'm going to click on the verb phrase, and then now it inserted that noun phrase Daniel. And if I were to try to save this, or there would still be a problem because this noun phrase needs to be an agent, an agent-like noun phrase in the subordinate clause. So now I'm going to click on Features, and I'm going to click on the NP for this new noun phrase, and then I'm going to select Most Agent-like in the second row. I click OK. Now if I save analysis, it still gives me a message that there's a problem. I'm going to say no. But you might have noticed that it only gave me one message this time, and that's because we fixed the first sentence. So now let's fix the second sentence. Saul helped Mary. There are two noun phrases for Mary. Mary eat food. So we only want one noun phrase for Mary, so let's get rid of that. So I'm going to click on delete words. I'm going to hold down the control key and click on the start of the second noun phrase for Mary. Then I'm going to click on the right bracket. That's the end of that noun phrase. I confirm that I want to delete that. Okay, let's check this second sentence. Saul is the agent-like noun phrase, helped. It's the right sense of help. Mary is the patient. Then Mary is the agent-like noun phrase, eat food. So, I'm going to cross my fingers. Uh-oh, there's still a problem. Okay, let's look at the third sentence. David helped Elizabeth eat food. Looks good. Okay. To tell you the truth, I'm not sure what's wrong here. Saul helped Mary. Patient-like noun phrase, Mary to eat food. Okay, I don't want to add a new sense. I think I can cancel. Let's see what it will do if I say yes. Paul helped Daniel to eat food. There's something wrong with the first sentence. Okay, I'm going to click cancel. What could that be? Okay, well, I'm about to throw up my hands in despair. I don't even know what's wrong. So let's click generate. I'm going to say no and just see what happens. Paul helped Daniel, he ate food. Saul helped Mary eat food. So that one came out right. David helped Elizabeth eat food. God helped Jesus. Elijah helped Moses for Aaron. Aha! Okay. Okay, what went wrong here is that we've got the wrong sense of help. So this shouldn't be the generic form of help, so it should be the form that takes a proposition argument. So I'm going to click on the senses button down in the bottom right, click on help, and change it to sense B. Okay, now when I clicked on Save Analysis, there was no problem. And if I click Generate, it will generate it correctly. Unfortunately, I can't remember how we wrote, oh, yes I can. Okay, we fixed the sentences in the phase 2. So you can see that the first one, where I didn't write Daniel in the subordinate clause, it got it wrong. It didn't recognize that that should be the sense of help, which is to help somebody to do something. The other two ones had problems too. Saul helped Mary to eat food. As I recall, we had to delete one of the noun phrases for Mary. And David helped Elizabeth to eat food. I think we had to make a change there. So it looks to me like in this case, the analyzer didn't get it right for any of these ways that I wrote the sentence. So it's possible that at some point, like after Todd sees this video, he fixes it so one of these works. But it looks like right now, you have to fix it up in the phase 2, which is too bad. Okay, so this, I hope this has illustrated how sometimes when we write it a certain way in phase 1, it'll come out correctly when the computer does the analysis. In other cases, we have to do some correction. And that's all for this video.